Would you like to live your best life possible, regardless of your imperfections? Discover cutting-edge tools and inspiration to let go of your limitations and expand your life beyond what you've ever imagined. On Imperfect Brilliance, we help you tap into your unique gifts and talents, uncovering and letting your brilliance shine. Join certified facilitator and coach Betsy McLaughlin as she delves into different areas of your life to get unstuck and create the life that is truly possible for you. Betsy has changed her life by utilizing the tools and techniques she is sharing with you. What if your willingness to acknowledge your brilliance is the catalyst to creating a new reality? When you stop judging you, what else can you create in your life and in the world? Join Betsy live every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern to create magical and joyous possibilities for an hour of laughs, questions, tips, and more. We are excited to contribute and play with you.
Hi, my wonderful friends all around the world. Thank you so much for tuning in to Imperfect Brilliance. I am your hostess for this hour, Betsy McLaughlin, and it is my extreme pleasure and honor to have one of the most wonderful, beautiful, amazing, talented, fun, funny, charismatic people that I know, that I'm absolutely honored to know. And she's been on the show a couple of times, and she graciously said yes to come back and play with us again. And so welcome, April Armstrong.
Betsy, thank you so much. It is just such a gift to be able to have this conversation with you and really with everybody that will be listening now or in the future, especially at this moment. So thank you for the invitation.
So true. So you guys, what do you do when the norm suddenly is no longer so? You know, when the rug is pulled out from under you, and whether, you know, you're listening to this show during times with the forced lockdown, which is where, you know, we are kind of live, or you listen to this show 2 years from now, because OMTimes Radio does have archives of all the shows. So, you know, you might randomly be listening to this in 2022 or something. So, but the what we're going to be talking about is relevant to no matter what's going on for you when your life is no longer what you're used to. And then with things, a lot of times they change so quickly and with so much uncertainty, so you feel like you're out of control. So how do you thrive through all of that? And the title of the show today is Thriving in Topsy-Turvy Times. And we're going to explore tools and questions, and I'm sure share some stories during this time together about what you could do, you know, during the rocky road, during the rocky sea of whatever's going on. So a little bit, you guys, about April. Besides all the things I've already said about April, she founded and is CEO of AHA Insight, which provides strategic leadership advisory and coaching services to executives leading transformational change in the private and public sector organizations. She does a lot of different things, and I know that she's an award-winning international speaker, and she's been featured on many television networks, including ABC, NBC, Fox Television, CBS, talking about her leadership tips. She also serves on the board of her alma mater. Like I said, she does a lot of other things. You can find out more about April, or if you wanted to reach out to her, through her website, www.aprilarmstrong.live. Now, April, it's April, and Armstrong, ARMSTRONG. STRONG. So that is just a teeny tiny little nugget of April. And for me, you guys can always reach me at my website, which is creatingyumminess.com. My website is, that is my website. My email is accessbetsy@gmail.com. April is on Facebook. She's got a very strong presence there. I am as well. So there's lots of ways to find us, you guys. And please always reach out. And if you've got questions or you'd like other show topics, you want April to come back and have us talk about something else, please let us know, because your feedback is what creates these shows. So, April, how are things going in your world with these topsy-turvy times?
Well, I just love the title of the show, Betsy. Gosh, I mean, topsy-turvy times. That is just such a brilliant way to describe, what I think everyone is experiencing right now. And, I heard a quote the other day that it really struck me. The quote was, and I sadly, I don't have the name of the writer that coins this right in front of me, but the quote was, we're all in the same boat, but we're all in the same storm, but we're not in the same boat. And, that just really struck me, because I know it's like for all the people online whose biggest problem is that, they're sort of going out of their mind with boredom because they've run out of Netflix shows. There's people trying to homeschool their kids while holding down a job. There's people like, my cousin who has lost their job. There's people like many, many people I know who haven't lost their job but are furloughed and not getting paid. And we certainly know there's many, many people with, either facing, very serious situations with COVID or someone in their family is, or, they have other medical situations going on and they're, not able to maybe get some of those treatments right now because of this. So there's just like this whole array of experiences, going on in this. And I'm just so excited that, hopefully we can speak to many of these folks and offer them some different possibilities and different ways of just, getting through these times.
Totally. So what have you found has been, for lack of a better way to ask this question in this moment, is what have you found is some of either one or a couple of the biggest challenges that you have faced with this very sudden, closure of borders and jobs and, places shutting down left and right? What have been some of the challenges for you?
Well, I'll tell you, Beth, one of the challenges that I've had just kind of front and center for me right now is, most of my client base, which, I do a lot of work with government, institutional clients as well as, corporate clients. And, these folks, many of these organizations that I work with, they've gone into survival mode because a lot of the work that we traditionally have provided has been very strategic type stuff. And that's really kind of luxury stuff for companies. And when companies are facing layoffs and, things like this or forced closure of their facilities, they're not operating. And that means we're not getting paid. So, one of my challenges even has been and so that's why I'm sensitive to folks that are, in some of these kinds of circumstances is, we found out one day you're not getting paychecks for the next minimum 3 months. So that has really forced me as the CEO of a company to really get really creative at looking at a whole lot of options for how we're going to navigate these times. And I will tell you, my sense is, and this is not necessarily all for the worse, but I really think it's going to be 3 to 5 years before, our country settles into some sort of, quote, new abnormal, new normal, abnormal. And I say, and I frankly am not sure that that's all bad. I mean, I think there's a lot of, actually one of the things I kind of believe about situations like this is, and welcome your perspectives on this, but it's like you were talking at the start about when the rug is pulled out from under us. Well, it's tempting to fall prey. And I've really had to watch this myself in the circumstances I was just describing, but, to the narrative that like, it's just the worst thing ever, or this is just a really bad thing. And I get that for many folks and, even myself, this can be a very distressing time, but what if the opposite was also true? What would it change to also be willing to see that, right? Like to see all the possibilities that are inside of this, cleverly disguised, on the surface, it just looks so terrible. And I'm not minimizing the distressing aspects of this, but I guess what I'm saying is like, I think it's also really interesting to really flip it and say, well, what are the gifts inside of this?
Yes. Yes. And, one of my favorite go-to questions when things show up that are quite a challenge and can, you look at it at the face of it, it's horrible, it's awful, it's all these things, is what is right about this I'm not getting? And that, for me, takes me out of the place of what's wrong with me or what's wrong with this other person or what's wrong with this situation. And it's like, oh, like you just said, is there a gift in here? And you may or may not see a gift in the moment, but simply by asking that question, it starts to shift things. So I love that you brought that into the conversation. And is there a gift here? Many, many, many times, things that in my life have first seemed like horrible and, oh my God, how am I going to recover from this? When I look at it either at the time or looking back on it, wow, this was such a gift. And I'm actually so glad that something happened, and maybe not exactly that, but it would lead me down something different. And just a quick example, I may or may not have shared this before on my show, I don't remember, but at one point I was going through cancer treatments, and my husband was laid off from his job. And, when he came home and told me that he had I was just, you feel like you've been kicked in the stomach. Oh my God. How the heck am I going to survive this? What are we going to do? How are we going to pay? Like all the things you go to. And it actually turned out to be such a blessing. My what do you call it? My chemo treatment was so intense, and it was literally every day for 6 months there. And it was pretty debilitating. And there was no way for me to actually physically take myself on some days. Some days I could, other days I was like, there is no way I can drive, or there was no way to get back home. And so with him being out of work, it actually was such a gift to have him with me through the treatments, take me, stay there with me, help me when I was physically ill, and all these different things that I look at it now and go, good grief, if he hadn't been with me, what would I have done? I would have had to been calling people during I maybe would have done and not done, because at the time I wasn't really good in asking for contributions from other people. So that's one small example of there might be a gift in here, like that silver lining right in the clouds. So.
Yeah. Yeah. And wow, Betsy, I mean, I wouldn't even call that a small example. Like I have chills right now. I think that's an incredible example. And I wonder what that created even in your marriage as well.
Right.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. Yeah. So, so as you were, you're talking about something that's actually going on for you right now. So what do you do to stay in the space of not going to all the terrible things, the woe is me, the, oh my God, like what are you doing if you go to that space, and how do you get yourself out of it?
Well, we can pick this up after the break if the break catches us here. But, well, first of all, I just love the question that you shared, Betsy. What's right about this that I don't see? I really love that. It's just like sort of like a focal point to kind of keep bringing my own attention back to that question. Another, way of thinking about that gift in my situation has been, when the rug is pulled out from under us, I think one of the gifts inside of that, and I like to talk about like gifts wrapped in garbage, and it's easy to be like, oh, that's just garbage. But if you're willing to look inside the garbage, there can be a gift, but for me, that kind of a circumstance that we're all in right now, it can sometimes also be like a permission slip to change a whole lot of things that were never working for us to begin with. And we can talk more about some of that after the break.
Wow.
In terms of a pragmatic tip in my case, I know one of the tools of access consciousness that I really love, and I've struggled at times to understand it, it's this idea of living your life in 10-second increments. And, that's sometimes been hard for me to wrap my mind around. But this, to me, is one of these moments where I'm actually really leaning on that tool. And the way I would describe it is like seeing your life as a clear slate, a clean slate. And in my case, our business base as a clean slate. Like if we were starting again today, what would we create? Because guess what? In my case, we're starting today, right? Like, our clients will return at some point. This is a temporary condition, but this can be temporary for 9 months. Like, so we can't just sit around for 9 months, right? So if we were creating the business from scratch today, what would we be, where would we start? What would we be creating? Who would we be creating that with? And that's actually creating a whole lot of change. Like we are changing.
Wow.
We're pivoting completely our business. Yeah. So that's one technique that I'm starting to apply right now even.
Wow. Those are some great questions. Now here's the break time. So thank you guys for some more questions when we come back from break with Betsy McLaughlin and April Armstrong. Stay tuned.
Free your mind with OMTimes Radio, IOM FM.
OMTimes magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. Connect at omtimes.com. OMTimes, creating a more conscious lifestyle.
The student asks the teacher, "How do I experience transformation?" The teacher replies, "When the student is ready to receive deeper answers, the student then asks, 'How do I know what deeper questions to ask?' And the teacher replies, "When the student decides to commit to a practice inviting transformation, level 2 questions will be revealed." Hi, I'm Tomas Garza, and as a teacher and host, I'm inviting listeners to enroll in the mastery of transformation by joining me on Decide to Transform, your bridge to level 2 answers. Tuesdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio.
A social distancing tip.
Putting distance between yourself and others is critical to slowing the spread of coronavirus. So here are ways to stay in contact without the physical contact part. Call, send a text, set up a video conference, post on social media, dedicate a song on the radio. If you have symptoms of fever, dry cough, and shortness of breath, call your healthcare provider before going to their office. For more info, visit coronavirus.gov.
Let's all do our part, because we're all #alone together. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Welcome back, you guys, to Imperfect Brilliance. So April Armstrong is our guest today, and we're talking about when the rug's pulled out from under you, what do you do? And what you were sharing with us right before the break. Did you have, I think you had some more nuggets you wanted to dive into on that?
Well, I would just add to that, just again, in terms of some pragmatic techniques, and actually this comes from Dane here, and one of his, he's got a great 14-day program. I think it's still available. So if your listeners are interested, I think they can probably look up on accessconsciousness.com and look up under Dane Here, or go to danehere.com and get this 14-day program. But, one of the things he talks about that sort of speaks to what you and I were just covering, Betsy, is, look at three or four, either people or things that you may have in your life that need to change, but maybe haven't been willing to change. And is this maybe an opportunity to change those things, and or in your business, as we were discussing in my situation, right? And, this is kind of like an opportunity to do, like some people are actually doing real house cleaning physically, but it's also maybe an opportunity to do some sort of house cleaning in our lives, right? To really let go of things that are not working for us and really get clear about what would we choose to bring back in when we really do reconstitute our lives and start, stepping back out again into the world.
And it could be, a small thing. It could, it could be a medium thing. It could be a big thing, whatever might resonate with you in the moment. And so when you were looking at pretty much deconstructing your business and going, okay, if I had a clean slate, what would I choose? Who would I choose? And you said you've really gone in a different direction. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. I guess I'll just start with a couple of things that weren't working for me, as a CEO of this company that we're in the middle of changing and sort of how we're changing it. So, one big thing for me was, I'm very anchored in the Washington, D.C. area. That's something I've wanted to change for a long time, but I really, obviously, up until now, hadn't been willing to change that. I have sometimes, long commutes. I spend a lot of time on the road because I spend a lot of time with my clients and their organizations. And that's something that had really begun to wear on me physically because the rest of my life gets pushed to the margins. Been wanting to change that for a long time, hadn't changed that. There's some other, I'd like to have a geographically independent business. Again, that was just not happening. But this has forced me, this has like kind of brazenly pulled me out of autopilot. And I think all of us, or many of us in a lot of ways. But the gift for me has been this opportunity to really look at every aspect of this. So one of the directions, we're pivoting into is actually a place, a part of my own background that I frankly at the time never wanted to return to, which was, actually squarely in this catastrophic disaster preparedness space. I spent 10 years working in that space with the White House and Homeland Security Council through 2 administrations, Bush and Obama, very, very intensively. But honestly, part of the reason I wanted to get out of it when I finally did, which was after Hurricane Katrina, was because, Betsy, I had found at the time it was just so difficult to get anyone to care about that stuff. Nobody believed a pandemic would happen. Nobody thought a catastrophic hurricane like Katrina would ever really happen. And it was just really hard to get people to invest in preparedness. And I finally, after 10 years, was just like, I give up. I'm done. Well, guess what's not hard right now? Getting people to care about a pandemic.
Wow.
And, and the fact is, people all over the world need help with this. And we can help them.
Boy.
And so we're going to start helping them.
And talk about being in the future. Like, look at, right? Wow.
Yes!
So,
you didn't even think about that. Wow.
You're welcome. Right. So you laid the groundwork for what you like, holy guacamole. And so, and the willingness to go to something where at one point in your life, you're like, I'm done. I'm out. No more. Right. And now you're like, okay, if I'm willing to have a clean slate and really look at what I would like to create now, and, asking that question, what do I know? And what can I contribute to people? And so pulling that piece back in for you, that's freaking brilliant. Wow.
Well, Beth, thank you for that. And, I have to say, like the question you just asked, what do I know? I really think that's a real gift for our listeners too, because, what do they know? What do you know?
Yes.
Right? Like each of you that Betsy and I are speaking with here, what do you know that nobody else may know? That you may think everybody else knows, but they don't, but you do. Like what are the possibilities just hiding in that? I love that question. Yeah. And if you were to not judge it, right? Because I spent a lot of my life judging. I can't believe I spent 10 years in this space and nobody gives
right.
What do you call it? A flying
a bleep.
A bleep. Thank you. And I really judged a lot of that part of, my professional experience, and wondered if it was a vast wasteland, frankly.
And now, the whole world is like, we really aren't prepared for this. So literally the whole world, not just one county or state or country, but the whole world is looking at this. So my God, like talk about being positioned and, how can you, so you can contribute to people, you can contribute to your business, and it just even talking about it, it's got a really expansive, happy energy. So, wow, hats off to you.
Well, thanks, Beth. And, just quickly on that, and then I'd love to hear sort of, what's going on in your world around this very thing, because, everyone's probably pivoting in some way, but I'll just say one last thing on that in a gift space for this. The other thing I really realized, and it's quite ironic given my point of view previously on that part of my life, right? But it's quite ironic that also what I'm finding is I'd also been really longing for a long time, Betsy, to feel like the work that we did was making more of a difference in the world and then creating a different future for people. We work in a lot of spaces that can sometimes take a decade or more to really see change through. And so it can sometimes feel like what we do, like it doesn't really matter. And so the gift in this also, not that I would ever have wished a lethal pathogen on the planet, but the gift of this for us, given that is on the planet, is that, we really can be operating now in spaces that really can make a very immediate difference for the present and the future for people. And that's really satisfying, frankly. I mean, again, I wish we weren't in the circumstance, but I'm heartened that we can contribute, like you said. So that's been another gift. Sure. So, how about you?
For sure. Well, during this time of kind of forced exile, just looking again, we've actually had some very interesting things going on with our house, and so we've been working through that, and that question that what is right about this and what is the gift here when you have a sewer line break and you have a washing machine break and you've got drywall coming up off of your and so I'm so grateful that now when that happens I just start laughing and like, okay.
Wow.
Not go to, and I think about, gosh, if that had been the me of 10 years ago, I would have been hysterical, crying and sobbing and, oh my God, and wringing my hands and going to that, even with a washing machine that is leaking, and not working properly. So maybe not the hysterical crying, but like, oh my God, now what am I going to do? Blah, 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 right? You go to that hole. And so for all of that, that question of like, really, truly, what is the gift here? And I actually can already see gifts, and it comes in sideways of you would never expect it to show up this way, but here you go. And we had this weird when we've been in our house about 4 years now, and we saw this weird kind of ripply thing on the wall. It was like not a straight wall in our basement. And we always looked at that going, what is that? But, okay, I don't know. Well, it turns out that it's actually paneling that got painted over. So, and so now what they took up 3 feet of drywall, and they're going to have to remove the paneling. So now I'm going to get a flat wall. And we had put in new carpet, and then my son moved in, and when he moved out, he had pretty well worn out the carpet. So I'm either getting new carpet or new flooring. So I'm like, well, okay. It's an interesting way to get it, but, and all right. And of course, it's all taking way longer than they first told us and all of that. But it really is to be that, and what you talked about briefly too, like living in the 10-second increments where I could even allow myself to be upset for 10 seconds or, 30 minutes or whatever, and then be like, okay, what am I going to choose now? And when you're constantly in that space of like, what will I choose now? What's going to create greater for my life and my living? And you can also add my business, so what's going to create greater for these things? What lights you up? What brings you joy and happiness? And when you start asking all these questions, what pops in, what shows up in your universe is indescribable. And you meet amazing people like my beautiful friend April here. And I'm so grateful for it all. So I also choose to not watch the news very much. I will flip it on just to see, like, have they, what's going on? Can we go out now? Oh no, now everybody has to wear masks. Okay, cool. And then I take it back off, because I choose to not feed into all of that, what's going on. Yes, I do want to know what's going on. And so for me, I know that it's better for me not to just watch the news. And I was talking to a friend of mine, and she's like, yes, my mother watches the news like pretty much all day long. And, you can even hear in her voice, she's like, oh, no thanks. I'll listen to happy music and, like do other things to keep myself in the happy space that I choose to be in. So, yeah.
Oh, I love that. Well, I mean, just what a different choice, like you're presenting, and offering all of us, Betsy, even in the story about the challenges you've had in your home. I mean, I can sense just the energy of the newness coming into your home. And yet you could quite understandably choose to be in a place of complete woe is me, but I just very, very powerful, story of how you made the conscious choice to not dwell there, to dwell instead in really what we would call with access, like the space, a real space of possibilities, and just allowing that, allowing yourself to choose to be in a space where you could see the silver linings, as we were saying. Yeah. Actually, quickly on the news, like I was joking the other night, I'm like, I just really want to start talking to everybody in a newsy type voice. I want to be like, I'm going to the grocery store where I will be getting kiwis and Campbell's soup and, if I can find it, pork. See you in an hour. Yeah, it's like you really do. It's like you really do have to consciously offset that or kind of just turn it off. I love that you're just, you're doing that. Yeah, me too.
Yeah. And it's, there was a woman, and I don't remember the name of it, but I saw there was a gal who started putting together a newsletter of all happy things. And it was like a little newspaper, and it was even happy, joyful colors and papers. And this was, maybe, I don't know, a few years ago when I first saw that. And it's good for you. And what if the new, there was way more focus on happy things and all the good things that people do in this world, because there is a ton of gorgeous stories that get overlooked and bypassed for the sensationalism. So what would it take for all of us to contribute more to all of the beautiful people, the beautiful stories, the contribution that so many people are being to each other, and actually add fuel to that fire, you know?
Yeah. Feed that wolf. Yeah. And there are, Beth, like you said, there really are. I mean, you know, crises in general can bring this out, but certainly, I have just found myself just like almost brought to tears every day by seeing just beautiful people doing beautiful things for each other. And you know what? They're doing those on normal days too. But, you know, I'm probably looking harder now, but they're always there. And like you said, just choosing to really celebrate those and herald those and, you know, and deliberately seek those out and be those stories, you know, be that person.
Yes. You know, and there's so many courageous. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. I was just going to say, okay, there's just so many courageous people, you know, literally right now, all the health workers and the people working in the stores that are having to come in contact with so many people, and they're doing it. And, you know, it's a lot of it is thankless. And there are so many people who are grateful for what they're doing, and they don't even know it, you know. And so I wonder, as all of us, you know, what could we create and be for all of these amazing people?
Yeah, I love that, Betsy. And even just small thank yous and acknowledgments, you know, when we you know, pass them at the grocery store or interact with them at the cashier or something, you know, I think even those small gestures, you know, matter, because some of these people are people who have never really felt seen before, you know. Yeah. And maybe this is a real chance for the world to see them and acknowledge them and, you know, appreciate them at a deeper level, you know. I do feel like I sense like a different level of kindness, like palpably in the world since 2 months ago. I don't know. How about you? I mean, I just feel like I sense a softening.
I love it. And yes, please, way more of that. And, you know, also our military, and there are so many unsung heroes. And, you know, so whomever you see, you know, that you can give an extra smile to, a huge thank you, you know, for whatever it is they're doing and contributing to us in our lives. I think that would be such an amazing gift. And that doesn't cost anything either.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Okay, guys, second break. Stay tuned for more yummy.
Connecting you with the best of the conscious minds in the world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Hello, I'm Lisa Berry. Join me every Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time for Light on Living, a chance to see new, hear different, and feel more as I shine the spotlight on all the ways to lighten the load of life's challenges. Light on Living is your link to that new way you're looking for, that new understanding that will enhance your life, and that positive connection that will support your growth. So join me, and you'll gain insight and start to see things in a new way that motivates you.
Hey, hon, what you doing with your phone? Taking pictures?
No, I'm asking it questions.
Like what?
Hey, Bobo, do flowers have best friends?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, follow me. I want to show you something. Look, flowers do have best friends.
Whoa.
Some answers can only be found in nature. Discover the unsearchable. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a trail near you. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
We have gone all over the place with this conversation today, you guys, talking with April Armstrong, thriving during topsy-turvy times. And this time is going so quickly. So I do want to let you guys know that April and I co-created a free class, which will be, I totally blanked on the date. April
May 16th. I think Saturday. May 16th.
Oh my goodness. May 16th. Thank you so much.
You're on Corona
9 a.m.
Time.
Totally. It's like you just never know what day or time it is. So May 16th at 9 a.m. Pacific time, and it will be up on my website shortly. You can find out more information on Facebook or email me at accessbetsy@gmail.com. And please come join us. We've got way more tools and questions and things that we'll play with that are kind of hard to dive in, and we'll have clearings and facilitation that's, so be a little bit more two-sided as opposed to you guys just listening on this conversation today. So please do come join us. We would love to have you play. Anything you'd like to add there, April?
Love that, Bets. I mean, I think like you said, just that will give us a chance to deeper dive with folks and, interact with them in terms of questions they may have or anything coming up for them that we can maybe facilitate them through.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So what else would like to be talked about today? Is anything else popping for you?
Well, I wonder, Betsy, if maybe we could touch a little bit on, even on body stuff. And I think you're a body process facilitator, and you might even be on your way to becoming a 3-day body facilitator.
I am.
And
yes,
and I also just get this, and I just wonder if, maybe that's a space we could just touch on because, folks are socially distancing. They're not getting those, our bodies aren't getting those hugs right now. We're not able necessarily to do hands-on body processes or even bars maybe in many areas right at the moment. Although, what will it take for that to change? And I think that will change very soon, actually, even and safely change. I would emphasize that. I believe it's going to safely change. But I wonder if, maybe we can chat just a little bit on that, just quickly, one thing that kind of came up for me is I also wondered if this is also sort of an invitation, even, just to rest. I think that many of us, and I'll put myself in this category, like I was not even conscious of how tired physically I was. Until suddenly I wasn't getting up, getting dressed, going somewhere, for 10 hours a day or traveling, and really just staying put. And I really just found my body just exhaling, just really breathing. And actually a family member of mine whose husband was furloughed. So, there's some financial questions for them right now, but that could be a very distressing situation. And yet she called me last night and she said, it's interesting. You remember we were talking about the fact that he was so extraordinarily physically exhausted, and she had been telling me like a month ago or more, but that she was like worried about him, just physical exhaustion. And she just wrote me last night and she said, actually, she's like, this is giving him the rest that his body has needed. That is the blessing in this.
Wow. So there's another gift, right? Not showing up as you least expect it. And yes, thank you for bringing the piece in about our bodies. And I know a lot of people who during this time are taking extra time to nurture themselves, maybe either, exercising for the first time in a long time or sleeping, allowing themselves to take a nap during the day, if their bodies are asking for it, maybe sleeping late, going for walks. With many places in the country, spring is here. I know in Australia, of course, it's summertime, but it's beautiful there as well. And one of the things that I'm seeing a lot of pictures on Facebook and stuff is with the animals and things that are coming out in nature that that have kind of been in hiding. And it's really been interesting. Like, I have a friend in Australia, and she's been posting pictures of all kinds of butterflies. She said they're just absolutely everywhere right now. So what gift can nature be for you and your body, and how can you, like I said, kind of slow down a little bit and actually enjoy this time for you and nurture you and your body? And if there's something that you would like to change, maybe now's the time to change it.
Yeah. I love that, with grace and ease and gentleness, and space. There's space to change it, Yeah. And I love, like you were saying, Betsy, like this idea of just, asking yourself each day, even like, what would be nurturing today for me, or enjoyable for me and my body today. And maybe, like you said, that's a walk outside in nature. Or like something I recently discovered. I've never even heard of this, but I recently discovered yin yoga, and I am just loving that. Like, that never would have entered my life before this time. But that's just been a huge gift for me.
Wow. That's really neat. I've never heard of it, so I don't know anything about it, but it sounds like fun. I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Yeah, it's just really gentle, and it's really around just, gentle stretching, actually, and just kind of connecting yourself more with your body. So it's not a strenuous yoga. Yeah. And I find that as we connect, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go. As we connect.
Well, I was just going to say, I find that, as we connect more with our bodies, and as a single person myself, I know some people are struggling with a lot of loneliness, especially if they live alone. But maybe even if you live with other people, not being able to get out and see people, can be hard for many people. And, I find that as we connect with our bodies and, come into communion with them and the earth, even as you were talking earlier, Betsy, that really is an antidote to loneliness. There's so much richness there.
There is, and nature is so nurturing, and I just looking out my window, I can feel my body relax and go, and even if I'm having a whatever kind of day, that connecting with everything, that's the beauty that's all around us, and being willing to actually slow down for a moment, stop and appreciate what's right in front of us is such a gift. So what else with your body, what else can you do during these topsy-turvy times to contribute to her or him?
Or them.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Oh, I was just saying, or them, him, or him, or them. I love that question. I really think that's just a question we can all be asking kind of every day. Like, I actually just had kind of and it's funny, like our bodies, I never had heard this before I started, getting, interested in access consciousness in their classes and books and things like that. But this idea that that our bodies can be these partners with us in the creation of our lives, that was really just a completely foreign concept to me. But I think there's a real opportunity in this moment also for all of us to be in a state of wonder around that and in a real place of question around that. And that as we ask the question you were just asking, Betsy, about how we can contribute to our bodies and what can our bodies contribute to our lives, and then just like waiting and watching for what shows up. Like one of the most unexpected things that happened to me just last week as I was kind of playing with that question was like out of the blue, this person writes me, I love Europe. I speak fluent French, and I spend a lot of time in France and Italy every year. And, sad that I can't go there right now. Had a big trip planned. in August, for the month of August, actually, that isn't a big question mark now. But this friend out of the blue wrote me and said, hey, there's this champagne class happening on Saturday. I thought of you because of your love of France. It's hosted by Parisians and, big wine school in Paris. And, out of the blue, Betsy, I'm like, what, that sounds like so much fun. And so there I was, on this Zoom call with like 8 people from Paris who I doubt I'll ever meet in person, but I had the best, most wonderful, unexpected time and this little champagne party. And I learned a lot about champagnes, and I had this virtual champagne brunch, and just really wonderful to connect again with the, French culture and all of that. And it was also really interesting. And anyway, but, I really feel like my body helped me create that.
Wow. That's so neat. And that's a great example of, that might not have ever been created before the lockdown. A lot of people weren't looking at that. And so to create something like that where you were able to connect with people across an ocean and have fun and share some laughs and drink some champagne and learn way more about it, that's just such a neat idea.
Yeah. And so it's like, what doors are opening maybe for all of us in our lives that if we didn't even think of it as a lockdown, if we really even change the way we see this time, what are all the windows and doors that are possibly opening to really create some really new and really different things in our lives? Like, what if we can emerge from this just, if things could turn out even better than we can imagine right now when we all sort of gingerly start to step back out into the world.
It's so true. So how can we all take advantage of this time and out-create anything that we've created so far with our lives, our living, our businesses, and, with family, relationships, your house, all of it. Like, what if you put everything in your life, or all those things I mentioned and more, as a clean slate? And is now the time to really create what you would like to create and get out of the autopilot that April talked about at the beginning?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like, what if this was just, what if this is just really a huge space of possibility swirling, around all of us. And, I just really wonder, I'm in, a big, huge question in that space in my own life. And and as I know we're kind of rounding the bend on the show, and, Betsy, I would want folks to know not only about something I want to briefly touch on, but also just all the different kinds of things you do with Access Consciousness. I think, a lot of people who follow you may not realize quite how extensive kind of your palette is with Access, but you really have so many fun things that you're able to offer people. But I was just going to say, speaking of space of possibility, that, encourage our listeners to also be open. I know people can't do physical touch stuff right now, so we're not able to really do bars classes or body process classes that are hands-on, although I think that will change very soon. But, there's also a lot of distance-based work that, I'm familiar with Access Consciousness. That's what I'm, experienced with. But, there's probably other things out there too. But, there's really some distance energy type stuff that can really contribute even in your body and in your life. And Betsy's a great resource for that. But, look into that. That really may be a way to contribute to some of the change people are looking to bring about in their lives, even in this, in this quote, period of quarantine. But Betsy, as we close, just
thank you.
Remind me of all the colors in your color box there. You've got
so many things that
you offer, and I love them all.
Well, thank you. And I do kind of forget to talk about that piece, but thank you, April. You're awesome. You're hired. So like she said, we both do energetic work, and so we can do it, distantly. And there's what's called a symphony session, which is just beautiful, beautiful energetic work. And sometimes that's the only piece I do. Other times there might be verbal facilitation that goes along with it. I do coaching. I do like all kinds of facilitation. I can basically facilitate a class on any subject. I am a Joy of Business certified facilitator, which is a specialty, like an offshoot of being a certified facilitator. I'm also a Being You certified facilitator. So I can literally I can teach a class on any kind of subject that you would like to know about. So, and I do, and I love it all. And I teach the foundation and bars and access bars and body processes and an energetic facelift. So there is just a huge variety of things. And April, thank you so much for being with us today. I'm so grateful for you in my life and in so many people's lives.
Thank you so much, Betsy. And yeah, check out all of Betsy's stuff, everybody. She is amazing.
Thank
what
you.
What if this is a huge space of possibility for the whole world and for each of you?
Yes, that. All right, guys, have a wonderful week. Be kind to you and your body, and we'll see you again next week. Take care.